Hello, and welcome to the another episode of Thoughtful Age podcast. And today I have Rajesh Agarwal with me, who is an executive engineering leader with a huge experience, and he also have different perspectives on things in tech. And he worked in Fortune 500 companies, and he also worked in startups. So he observed how the software industry evolved during that years from different parts of that industry. And what is also interesting about him is that he's a meditation teacher, and he's trying to bring some of those ancient and I believe useful mindfulness practices to his work. And this is something that we are going to talk today about as well. So, Rajesh, could you please introduce yourself and tell our audience about your experience about something that you went through?
Yeah, thank you, Dimitra, for me having me. I'm really excited. But yeah, I have had the opportunity to work both as an individual contributor, as a manager, and as an executive. So it's very fascinating to see things from different perspective, and even like on larger companies, how things move versus startups, especially in smaller companies, you need to roll your sleeves up. So it's been very fascinating. And like you mentioned, over the years, I was fortunate to be introduced to meditation and yoga practices. And those thousands of years old ancient practices, they're like timeless and they're more precious in today's world because in today's world of Twitter and shorts, our attention spans are getting shorter. And I think that's where to create something innovative, we need to have focus, extended focus, and meditation and mindfulness can certainly help there.
Awesome. Yeah, I believe we will cover that a bit more deeper going forwards. But let's start with your 20 years of experience of being in the engineering domain and seeing that software and tech industry evolving. And I think you've observed and seen a lot going through all of those years. And what was the most impactful things that affected the evolution of the industry, and what was those significant milestones to your mind?
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. I think a lot has happened in last 20 plus years. To illustrate that, when I started my career at AT&T, we were tasked to move things to web. So you can imagine web was new at that time. I'm talking about 2001. So we had to find a desktop, install a web sphere server, if you remember that, and
Yeah,
run the
I
application
do.
there. There's a desktop next to my laptop, and we're running there. So then, obviously, we went on to move to find internal data centers, and today it's all on cloud. So that is one definitely a significant shift. Like to start something up and running, it only takes minutes now. It used to take months in the past to get new hardware, install the software.
Right,
So
right.
that
All
is
those procurement
itself is
processes, like buying stuff and like ordering. Yeah,
Yeah. And then I remember some of my friends, we were working on a startup. At that time, the only way to do a startup was you have to buy a static IP, have a machine on your at your home. So now entry is very easy into anything. Along the way, other evolution that has happened is the front ends have much become much more sophisticated. Like the it used to be like connectionless protocol at that time, HTTP, you have to submit the form all the time. And now it has become much more dynamic. React, Angular have made it so sophisticated, the UX experience. I remember there was even the whole discipline of product management did not exist, at least in a larger companies at that time. It was much more project management. Evolution of product management is another area that has evolved and transformed. We have much more empathy for the customer now. There's much more focus on the customer than ever before. And obviously, you cannot complete this conversation without talking about AI. And more so in 2023 is the way AI is impacting everything we do, including software engineering.
Yeah, that's really impressive, especially when you see in such a long distance, like 20, 30 years, the industry went through a lot. And you cannot even think about everything that happened, but the milestones that you highlighted, like I believe they were definitely crucial. And moving to the clouds from those self-hosted machines, and now AI is another great thing that is happening. And I believe the future looks even brighter. And we don't even know what is ahead of us, but still, I believe there are a lot of stuff that will be happening for good. And talking about like your personal career, you started as a software engineer, as I did, and then becoming an executive engineering leader. And can you talk about your career and maybe some key milestones that shaped actually your way of going through that?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, we were I was the first uh, engineer in a large group at AT&T to start Java practice. That's where it started. So it was very, and at that time, AT&T was like, actually it was called SBC. A lot of small companies were bought. So there are a lot of segmented, isolated systems. So I pioneered converting and building an enterprise-wide application. So that was my first big enterprise scale work. And then I went on to move to a different group where we were responsible for AT&T's middleware, and we built the API layer there. And then from then on, later those were moved to microservices. Um, and recently also AT&T started moving to Azure as well. So that journey, I was not part of the Azure journey overall, but then on the tech side, that's how things evolved. On the leadership side, I also went on, took over more the leadership role. Ended up when I left AT&T, I was managing a team of 100 over 100 people. I wanted to work in a smaller team. I also wanted to leverage my experience of scale and help startups go there. So that's where I joined a small ed tech startup in San Francisco, and we were able to streamline a lot of processes. And then that we went on to selling to a different company during COVID. And then I joined another at another company, another startup, which the founder had started and the product took off. So I came in, helped the company double the team size, streamline the processes towards scale. There was like one large Scrum team of 25 engineers, and we broke into five smaller teams, brought in agile and Scrum practices, and more importantly, from a stack perspective, technology perspective, um, streamline the stack, reduce the number of cloud vendors, because in the startup world they went after a lot of either shiny objects or something cheaper, and that is not definitely the foundation for scale. So to recreate that foundation for scale by moving everything to AWS, and bringing in a lot of skilled senior principal level leaders and engineers, and that definitely set the foundation for that company to go and write into the next episode.
Oh, yeah. And if you're talking about scale, and I'm glad that you mentioned that perspective, that uh, would you agree that the proper people on proper places are much more important than the technology you use?
Absolutely. I think software, especially, or any skilled work, is a people business. And that's why we should take pride in calling a people first company. Because if you have the right people, they will find the right software, right tools to solve the problem.
Yeah, that's what I'm advocating for all the time. That's it's actually people who write software and who support it, and then who is making customer happy, but not the software itself and not the tech itself, or how good it would be. Like even in now age AI, like it's still not on that stage that it could operate autonomously. It still requires a lot of engineering effort to bring it up, like make sure it works, like monitor that everything is functioning properly. And if we are talking about people, so it definitely comes to the culture of organization, and like building a positive culture that will empower engineers and will empower people to work to their full potential is crucial, like for every organization, I believe. And can you share some strategies of fostering the culture like this?
Absolutely. I feel in an area where we are, like in software engineering, I think if we can create a culture where people are intrinsically motivated, if you've read the book Drive by Daniel Pink, it talks about intrinsic and extrinsic motivation.
I'm reading
I
it right
think that,
now.
sorry,
I'm reading it right now.
you are perfect. It talks about how if you're an assembly line worker, it's okay to be extrinsically motivated. Carrot and stick model, all you have to do is just make sure that more you can do more in the assembly line, and so in either for the carrot or for the fear of stick. But in our world, where it's much more, if your heart, if you put your heart into it, you're more likely to find different ways to do things, to simply put, have less bugs, or less things much more efficient. um, and I think that is, so it's very vital that we create an environment where people are excited. So one of the things I have done is make sure people feel heard. I think it's as a human being, we have this innate uh, need to feel heard and validated. I've joined teams where engineers were about to leave because they felt that the leadership was, they felt it was much more top down. Their ideas were not feeling heard, and that's where just simply act of making sure we're listening to them authentically, considering their ideas. And I'm saying the word considering more importantly here is not necessarily we have to just do everything they say, but they feel considered. And this is where I um, lean on Patrick Lencioni a lot. Patrick Lencioni talks about that if people don't weigh in, they can't buy in. Excuse me, I'm saying it opposite. Um, Yeah, actually, that's right. Sorry. If people don't weigh in, they didn't buy in. So it's very important that people have a chance to say. I think that is the foundation. And beyond that, if we also make sure that uh, we are able to incorporate their ideas, or excuse me, their career aspirations. Uh, if they feel that their career is considered and they're growing in their career, the problems they are solving in a team are exciting enough that they'll help them in the career, I think then magic happens. So if they are um, I think, yeah, those are the two foundational things on which it builds. And obviously, beyond that, making sure that its work is fun. I mean, I think work, one of my philosophies, work hard, play hard. So if you're able to make work fun, bringing in different team building activities in a post COVID world, more offsites, in person offsites, then that definitely brings the juice, if you will, and not just make it very dry. And another thing I'm realizing over time, and I wrote a LinkedIn post as well recently, is what I call finding a best friend at work. If we can foster an environment where not just engineers, but anybody have at least one person they are much closer to, they can talk about, I think there is a different energy that comes. And that is my experience as well. If I reflect on my career, Dimitro, that in teams where I've found people, at least one person I can talk to, because we all have bad days. There are people who push our button. If we have an outlet, then work becomes much more fun and fulfilling, and then we're definitely able to be more productive.
Yeah, absolutely. I cannot agree more with that statement because I also believe uh, you can be more productive, and the ultimate goal for everyone is to perceive the work as not just a work, but just like having fun with the friends. Like you're just hanging out, meanwhile discussing some meaningful problems and solutions to those problems, and working together uh, for overcoming any challenges that you are facing. And this is I experienced myself, and I see how people thrive when they are working in this kind of environment, when they can rely on each other, they can trust each other, and they know their ultimate goal, and they align to the strategies and vision, and they're just like, yeah, and the work becomes not just a work, but something fun that really like engages you and give you a satisfaction.
Absolutely.
But
I remember Zoom CEO Eric Yuan, I think he said in a conference I was in that happier engineers create bug free software.
right, yeah, I would agree with that too. But even though, like, we cannot escape the conflict situations, and even in the thriving culture and the thriving organization and the positive work environment, we'll still have situations of disagreements and some kind of maybe conflicts of interest, let's say. Uh, what is your strategies to deal with that? Like, is there
Yeah,
any good way of getting around?
great question. And if there are no conflicts, then there's a problem. So let me start by
Yeah.
saying that. We need conflicts. I think one of the things I've heard is that if two people always agree, then you only need one of them. Um, that being said, I think if I lean on my yogic knowledge, there are two types of conflicts. There's a word called like rajas, which is the conflict uh, could be coming out of ego, if that makes sense. Like it's in that's where a lot of times conflicts are to advance my way of doing things, and that could cause to disagreements. The other types of conflict, which is in Sanskrit called sattvic, uh, and that is to find a better outcome for the mission for the company. And so, first, I tend to uh, evaluate what is the conflict, what type of conflict is this, and it's okay. We are all human beings. Ego is we all have ego, and it comes up a lot of times. So, making sure that diffusing the ego and focusing on what is the best outcome for the company for the project we're working on is how I start. I think that's where bringing everybody together or one-on-one conversations. um, One example was like last year I had a situation where an entire team was against our architect. The team already had invested too much in designing a solution. And I had some concern when I learned when they had moved too far. I talked to the architect and I made sure that they talk and figure out the best outcome. And at that time, there was a significant conflict, um, and became much more personal. So it started falling at the ego level. And that's where having conversations, raising the awareness that we focusing on the benefit of the company and for the project makes it easier. It's not always it makes it easier. Sometimes it's still you have to go through motions and you have to take firmer actions. And if nothing else, at some point, then you have to use uh, your judgment and make a decision and say this is the way. But usually, as a leader, I personally don't try to create an environment where they resolve conflicts on their own. There have been a couple of occasions where I had to put my foot down and say, this is how we're going to do it because you also want to move quickly. You don't want to spend too much time in paralysis of analysis. But overall, to summarize, I feel evaluating what the type of conflict is and making sure the conflict is focused on the benefit of the project or company, and then making everybody feel heard. And at some point, the conflicts resolve themselves. If not, then as a leader, You jump in and make the decision and move on.
Hmm. Yeah, it makes perfect sense. And could you please share a little bit more about those uh, like as you described that dismissing the ego and like stepping over it, and how we can usually help people to understand that it is like it is not their personality, but it is their ego dictating their actions now, and they would better like step back a bit and like try to reflect on what is going on and maybe make a right decision. Do you have like any particular advice or suggestion on that?
Yeah, good question. So I think it's it depends on the person. I mean, especially in these kind, if I'm sensing that it's coming a lot from ego, and I've had team members in the past, you can see like there's a lot of passion. Usually, people who have bigger egos, they also have a lot of passion. Um, and so in that case, usually a lot of times emotions cloud the thinking. Uh, so usually I ask them to take some time off, and then one strategy is asking questions. And asking questions, because a lot of times they may not be also enough space to listen to you. So at
Right.
that time I feel let the answers come from within, from themselves, and that's always easier. They can convince themselves better. So questioning is one thing that works many times. uh, Asking like how it benefits, and that's why I always have a mantra. I normally define engineering principles, how we'll operate as a team, and one of them is put company first. And then I, if not, then I can also bring it back, how is this tying to our principle of putting company first. And most of the time, once we are able to elevate the thought process to that level, they realize. um, and obviously depending on the person, usually Dimitro, most of the time, in my previous companies I've always started a meditation club, so many people are interested in meditation or breathing, so they know. So depending on the person, I also sprinkle in some advice on taking some deep breaths, coming back after some time, taking some break, and see if that works. And I have also had situations where people would not let go, and that's where the ego is really becoming a bigger driver. So then it's a different conversation. Then it's not about this particular conflict, it's more about personality. Then I tend to evaluate, is this person the right fit for this team or culture?
Yeah, yeah, because like you also need to evaluate, is this person coachable at all? Like
Totally.
is
Open
willing to
mindedness.
open
Yeah.
up and listen, yeah, and open minded. If we are talking about that, could you please elaborate a bit on those practices that you think might be useful from yoga or from meditation for the software engineers, for like engineering organizations that you think everyone can benefit from?
Yeah, for sure. I think I say that anybody who breathes can benefit from yoga. And that means everybody on this planet, like 7 billion or so people, can benefit from yoga. Yoga is designed to go inward. I think it's very easy for us to get caught up in the external environment, which is needed, but at the same time, the more we can tap into our internal potential, internal world, the better we can do outside. And the practice I learn and teach, it called sky breath meditation. It's offered by a nonprofit called Art of Living Foundation, with which I am a certified yoga and meditation teacher. I'd say that is the practice that transformed my life 13 years ago. But overall, otherwise, just deep breathing, becoming aware of your breath throughout the day. And whenever you get caught up in too much, even if you're stuck in a bug, if you're not able to debug, or in a conversation with somebody, in a design, you're not stuck in, you're able to design something, writing code, also taking some deep breaths definitely broadens the perspective. Usually we get so caught up in a small detail or small thing that we are not able to see in the bigger picture. Breath allows us to relax. It relaxes our nervous system and at least helps a lot. If like that does not help, I feel walks are also a great way to just zoom out, and pause and do something else, come back. That's another way to solve it, even if it's a conflict or technical issue, people issue, any kind of issues.
Yeah, I love this perspective as a yoga practitioner myself, and I also enjoy doing some of the breathing practices from times to time. So I can definitely confirm that it works. And um, I'm glad that you're mentioning this because sometimes people might perceive this as something not that important, not that powerful as it is indeed. And I believe as more people becoming aware of that and like starting to leverage some of that wisdom as more uh, better human being we're becoming, and as a whole, and less conflicts we would have, and less peace we would have on this planet as well. You mentioned that sky breath meditation. Could you sky breath? What's that thing? Could you please elaborate and be specific of that?
Yeah, sure. Sky stands for Sudarshan Kriya Yoga. So Sudarshan is a Sanskrit word. It means seeing things as they are. A lot of times, our emotions and stress convolute uh, our perceptions. It's imagine like if you're looking through a window, if the window is a dust, you will probably not see the things as they are, but you'll see them dusty. If you clean the window, you can see things as they are. Same goes with us. If you are able to reduce our stress uh, and have better say our emotions, we'll see things as they are. That's what causes a lot of misunderstandings and conflicts, like you're saying. Even if you look at the macro environment in the world today, there are like two major wars going on. These are all causes of different distorted views, I feel, of the things. So I feel that's where some of these yogic practices can definitely help us move towards a better world, a better peaceful world.
Yeah, and everything's comes down to the state you're in right now. Either it's
Mhm.
like some aggressive state that you want like to fight with everyone, or either it's more calmed down and more relaxed and open to new ideas, or uh, like with filled with empathy and love. This is everything what is important in our life. Yeah, it's hard not to
Absolutely.
agree with that statement.
One thing I want to add also, you just reminded me of when you talked about aggression is Sri Sri Ravi Shankar, who is the founder of the Art of Living Foundation. He says that the world is today either moving into aggression or depression. So on one side, you have a lot of aggression happening. On the other side, especially since the pandemic, we see a lot of mental health issues. Actually, that's one of the biggest concerns as we move. That I would like, and that's where, in both ends, if you take care of your own mind through some of these practices, you can move more towards center.
Yeah, that's a good advice. That's a good advice. Noted. So, and as we're approaching to the end of our conversation, I have a last question to you. And as someone who observed a lot in the tech industry and how it evolved throughout those years, and seeing a lot of those innovations coming out from very smart people, how would you envision the future of our industry? Is there any big trends in the tech industry in the coming years? Like, for sure, there is AI, but maybe there is something more that you might highlight.
Yeah, I think they're like one is within software engineering itself, and I think AI definitely is going to impact every aspect of our lives in coming days. So even in software engineering, I think now you can write code like ChatGPT can write code for you now, but you still have to ask the right questions. So like, if we look at the history. Before Google or before the search engines, information, uh, holding on to information was very vital. Like people would hold into information that was king. But now, especially Google made it very easy to get information. But you still needed to use the information the uh, right time. You have to make sense out of it. I think some same analogy can be extended for AI as well. That you have to put AI to work. You have to ask the right questions. That's why this prompt engineering is one of the big things. Like what kind of questions you ask. AI stay at table stakes. Everybody can access ChatGPT. I think that's one of the big way. The way we write code at its core is going to change. The way I think of ChatGPT is that most of the things we are trying to do have been solved. It's just that how quickly can we access what has been done and customize to our needs. I think another aspect within software engineering is low code application platform. I think or even no code. I think there's a lot of automation happening there, and that's where visually you can just drag and drop. A lot of platforms are becoming popular. Big companies are coming in as well, like Microsoft of the world. That is another trend. That obviously I continue to be amazed in some of these big cloud vendors how easy they make things, especially like AWS. I'm a big AWS fan. So the test automation is another area um, that is evolving a lot. Like I've been involved in test automation for last 11 years or so for in some shape or form. But with AI, generative AI, it's much easier now to generate test cases. So that's another big area. I'm very excited. Even like the other progressive web apps as well. Like you can now develop apps which can fit in any screen much easier instead of maintaining different code bases. So a lot of different excitements in software engineering alone. And if you go beyond in general in tech, obviously quantum computing is going to solve many problems that we probably are not able to solve with our traditional compute powers right now. Yeah, and I think overall the even driverless automated cars. Like the place I live in, I see a lot of testing happening now in different facets. A lot of automation happening in transportation. So it's a very exciting time. At the same time, Dimitro, I also feel we are moving. Everything is becoming a choice now, and what I mean by that is, in the past, in like before industrial age, probably working hard. Like people used to work physically hard a lot. They used to walk or take ride in a horse, and then a lot of machineries came along, cars came along. So then physical activity became a choice. Similarly, there are a lot of other evolutions have become a lot of choice. Like simple example is now instead of typing, you can do a lot of speech to text. Like you can ask Alexa to do a lot of things. Work now going to office is a choice. Like especially with COVID, we don't have to go to office. Most of the it has much more remote work is much more pervasive
Right,
now.
right.
So it's a choice now. Everything is becoming a choice. Earlier, you were forced to go to office, like because that's the only way we knew, and that
Another option, yeah.
definitely, yeah, that become puts a lot of onus on us now, and that's why I'm concerned about the mental health of people now, because now it's very easy with the evolution of technology with AR, VR, and everything else. You can be forgetting to talk to people. You can be sitting in a room, order pizza or schedule door dashes, keep, and then, and that's where I feel at the end of the day, technology is a great servant, but it's a very bad master. And if we let technology take over our life, I'm really concerned what the future is. And I think that's where it becomes a choice how we use technology to serve us better.
Hopefully, hopefully it will be for good.
I think
It's
many people
always a
will do it for
question.
good. Yeah,
Yeah,
many people
it's
use it for
always a
good.
question
But
I have. Like,
Yeah.
how is this new thing making us a better people, better human being, and does it allow us to communicate more clearly, to build more strong connection with other people, and so on and so forth. Okay, Rogers, thank you so much for being a guest today. Do you have any final word for our audience?
No, I really enjoyed talking to Dimitro. Thank you for doing this. I so much appreciate it and I had fun.
Thank you so much, Rajesh, and thank you for everyone who listened to this episode, and see you next time. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.